Looks like, well, I know we only had 24 people register, so it's just 10 o'clock, but I want to be sure there's enough time for everybody to share. So with that, we'll get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for Charting 2025 Genealogy Goals and Ideas. As you know, I'm Kate Kisselstein, one of the librarians in the Local History and Genealogy Department at Onondaga County Public Library's Central Library in snowy downtown Syracuse, New York. For now, I'll ask you to keep yourselves muted until we get to our open forum discussion. This session is being recorded and will go live on my YouTube channel by Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And that's this Sunday, December 29th. There we go. So first up, I'll be giving you an idea of where we're headed in 2025, followed by a brief overview of what was covered in 2024. Then we'll get to what I'm sure will be everyone's favorite part, the open forum or discussion portion. In that portion, you can feel free to briefly share one or two personal genealogy goals for 2025 and/or a topic you'd like to see covered in the coming year. So first up is where we're headed in 2025. And I should let you know right now that I will be sending out these slides as a PDF, so you will have all the information coming up, most notably this. So here are all the dates for 2025, and I will be sending a PDF copy of the full-size slides as well as the chat log. So that you'll have these dates to refer to. So no need to frantically start writing down if I start going too fast. Also note that for November and December for 2025, that due to holiday closures, we'll be meeting on the third Friday of the month rather than on the fourth Friday of the month. The presentations will still run from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern for all dates on Zoom, and it's always going to be the same Zoom link if that's helpful, a helpful piece of knowledge for you. And so yes, and the first session, so that including for local history sessions, we won't be having a local history session for January. So the very first session for my department will be the OCPL Genealogy Group on Friday, January 24th, 2025 at 10 a.m. So planned topics for early 2025. First up, we have on the January 24th is 21 strategies for deciphering old handwriting with guest speaker Carla S. Sigilski. And I apologize if I've butchered her name. And note that that will be a live only session. The first two sessions I was able to get guest speakers for, but they did specify it had to be live only, so they will not be recorded. But I will do my best to have programs that are recorded going forward. So the next one on February 28th, 2025 will be 21st Century Italian Genealogy with guest speaker Michael Casara. Again, that will be a live only presentation. Then March 28th, you will be back with me, and that will be Roots Tech Rewind Discoveries from 2025's conference. Then April 25th will be Sharing Family Recipes, Preserving Heirloom Memories, and more. So a little bit more about each of the first four sessions. Up first for 2025 is Carla's 21 Strategies for Deciphering Old Handwriting. Carla is a lecturer who came recommended to us by Celeste Moore and Amanda Perrine. This program is a new one she developed that will help us learn to make better sense of those older handwritten records that we often come across in our genealogical research. Her session will be a live-only one, so keep that in mind when registering. It will take place via our regular Zoom link on Friday, January 24th from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. In February, we will have our next guest speaker, Michael Cassara, who is a professional genealogist and lecturer based in New York City. His program, 21st Century Italian Genealogy, caught my attention as Italian genealogy seems to have been increasing in popularity. At least my department seems to periodically get waves of queries on Italian ancestry. As Michael states, with more and more records available online, this talk provides a strong overview for the beginning researcher while including some lesser known resources that will be of interest to even the most advanced researchers. His session will be a live only one, so keep that in mind when registering. And it will take place via our regular Zoom link on Friday, February 28th from 10 to 11 Eastern. Starting in March, I'll be back as the presenter, and this session will be fresh from my experiences at my second in-person trip to Salt Lake City for Roots Tech, which takes place from March 6th to the 8th, 2025. And I'll even be able to provide some highlights and or insights from my side trip to the Family History Library, as I'm making a special point to take 2 days before the conference to travel to Salt Lake City, specifically for visiting the Family History Library out there. This session will take place on Friday, March 28th, and it will be recorded. Then the last one I'll share with you for 2025, or for the beginning of 2025 rather, is that for Preservation Week, which in 2025 runs from April 20th to the 26th, we'll look at preserving heirloom and family documents through the lens of preserving and sharing old family recipes. And I have a confession to make. This is actually a take on one I originally did back on June 9th, 2023, just with more emphasis on document preservation. So I'm looking forward to doing this one, but I just wanted to let you know there will be, it's one that the recording didn't come out back when I did it the first time, but I have had a lot of people, I've done it in person at several libraries, and people really seem to like it, and I thought you all might too. So next up is just a little reminder of where we've been in 2024. Because as with any journey, sometimes it's good to take a moment to reflect on what you've accomplished already, which is why it's always a good idea to keep research notes. Here are the dates of all the sessions we had in 2024, including the special genealogy takeover that happened in October for National Family History Month. On Friday, January 26th, we had Census Chronicles exploring U.S. federal and New York State census treasures, where we learned about different pieces of information available in both federal and New York State census records, the impact of the fire that destroyed all but 1% of the 1890 U.S. federal census records, and the significance of the mortality and other schedules that were done at various times. Then in February, we were treated with Tracing Roots, a genealogical case study with guest speaker Heather Bright. And this case study showcased Heather's research into her African American ancestors who lived in Peterborough, New York, and highlighted effective strategies and tools that she has continued to utilize in tracing her family history beyond the early 1800s. Next up was Unlocking the Past, Embracing the Future, highlights from Roots Tech 2024, which was a brief overview of my first time visiting the world's largest genealogy conference in person and highlighting insights from the presentations that were live only. In April 2024, We had Capturing Memories, a guide to preserving and protecting your family photos. This was a special one for Preservation Week. And this program provided some essential insights into methods of preserving our precious family photographs, including an overview of the different types of photographs you might encounter. Then for May, by somewhat popular demand, this program provided a look at the 11 one-of-a-kind genealogy databases that highlight figures and events from Central New York's rich history and that are available through the Local History and Genealogy Department's website to anyone, anywhere with internet access. And in June, we had Roots and Branches, Creative Ways to Share Our Family Trees, which was meant to coincide with family reunion season. It highlighted both non-digital and digital methods of sharing our family trees with others, and methods, especially methods meant to help engage the younger generation's interest in learning more about their family heritage. Next up, in July, we had um, our genealogy research roundtable discussion, which did suffer from a little bit of technological glitches because we had switched platforms. But those of us, a few of us were able to gather to share our 2024 genealogy adventures and goals for the remainder of the year. Then in August, we had The Gentle Art of Organizing Your Genealogy Research, which was meant to be a riff on popular decluttering titles. The session focused on streamlining and organizing both our physical and digital genealogy files. September saw us welcoming back Amanda Perrine with Your Family and Federal Records. Amanda, who was fresh from attending the Genealogical Institute on Federal Records, guided us through the variety of records available at the National Archives and exactly what is and is not archived and or indexed there. Then for October, this series was a special series for National Family History Month, and it was a genealogy takeover for October called Crafting Your Legacy. First up was Crafting Your Legacy Part 1, Organize Your Family History, where we learned practical tips for gathering and organizing our genealogical research with a focus on writing our family story. Then we had Part 2, Write Your Family History, where we discovered how to transform our organized research into a compelling narrative in order to bring our family story to life, including the different methods and formats we could use to do so. Then, mainly because it felt like though the October series needed a follow-up, in November we had Crafting Your Legacy Part 3, How to Sustain Your Family History Writing. Mainly because I wanted to encourage you all and myself to keep writing down those family stories. This was provided ideas for finding and evaluating a writing group, an overview of a method for critiquing other writers' works in progress, and it also provided a chance to share a little snippet of your own family story writing. And next up, I'll stop sharing my screen in a moment so we can all see each other for our favorite part of today's session, the open forum. If you need a discussion point, you could offer one or two genealogy goals you have for 2025 and or any potential topics you'd like to see covered here in 2025 or the near future. Just a reminder that I'll be sending two handouts, a PDF copy of the full-size slides along with a PDF copy of the chat log out by the end of the day today, which you can look for that. The end of my day is 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And look for this video to come on my YouTube channel by 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 29th. Let me stop share so we can everybody see each other. So feel free to unmute and share. Yes, and Daphne, feel free to share in the chat.
I can start, Kate, I guess.
Sure.
Hang on just one second. I've got just a
Yeah,
little glitch here. Hang on.
yeah.
Don't go away.
And I did
Okay.
make it so you can share a screen if anybody wants to.
No, I don't need to share the screen or anything.
Okay.
Um, Two things I really want to work on in 2025 are learning more about and applying artificial intelligence to my genealogy research. And I'm looking to do that in order to be able to transcribe and translate German birth, marriage, and death records and Quebec notarial records. Um, and the other thing I'm interested in is doing more newspaper research. And through newspapers.com, Newspaper Archive, New York State Historic Newspapers, My Heritage Newspapers, and Fulton History.
Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful.
You said to be brief.
Oh, I said to be brief. Well, yeah, well, and actually there's only 11 of us, or how many of us? There's 12 of us total. So if you have a little more to share, that's fine too. Um,
Can I say one more thing?
oh, certainly.
Am I allowed? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that caught my interest recently is I know I had four cousins who were German prisoners of war, and I'm interested in trying to find out more information about where they were, what conditions they were under. Two of them were prisoners of war in Russia during World War II. One was a prisoner of war in France and actually died in a prisoner of war camp. And the fourth one was actually a prisoner of war in Illinois. So I'm very curious to find out more information about, especially what German prisoners of war were doing in the US. I think a lot of them were working on farms.
Correct. And with my um this is Bonnie with the New York or the ordnance works that I talked about in Radisson.
Yeah.
They came and my brother-in-law had a farm and his family had a farm and they had a prisoner of war and I've got a letter that the prisoner of war wrote in later years to the family.
Mhm.
So yeah, they definitely worked on farms here anyways. Oh, one thing I thought of is not genealogy, but next year is the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal. And several years ago, I did a video for our local access channel, and it was called Then and Now Water Street Lock 24. And it's not genealogy, but it is the birth of the barge canal. Baldwinsville had in the 1700s, you could not go east and west on the Seneca River, which divides our town, Baldwinsville. And so the one of they had to ford around the rapids. And one of the people, or two of the people that were helped by the first man that came, was was John Jonas and Betsy Baldwin, who later came back to Baldwinsville, and he built the first canal in Baldwinsville, which was called the Baldwin Canal. And then the Erie Canal was with the south end of the town of Van Buren, which is also one of our towns. And and anyway, so it was down. So it did not come through Baldwinsville, but then they improved it. And then in 1908, they decided to build the barge canal through the lakes and things, and it came through Baldwinsville. And this is a video that shows all of the digging. They had to take 61 buildings out and all kinds of earth and everything and redo the middle of Baldwinsville. And it tells about the birth of the barge canal in Baldwinsville. We were the first lock to open. Anyways, if anybody's interested in that, it's not genealogy, or it could be if you're looking for somebody that worked on stuff. But I think you'd find it very interesting. And it's then and now,
And
Lock Street.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, Lock Street, Lock 24. And it is, you can go to Google and pick it up. It also is on YouTube.
I put the YouTube link in the chat.
Okay.
I found it.
And say Google too, because that's really the easiest one.
Yeah.
I thought somebody might be interested in it. It's not genealogy really, but anyways, it is an anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
Kate,
Yes.
speaking of handwriting and urban records, you mentioned AI relating to what Scott was talking about. They're getting closer to be able to being able to use that to decipher some of the handwriting in these records, because that's for some of us. I know you've probably looked at a lot of German handwriting in records, and for some of us, it's an ongoing goal that never stops, is trying to decipher the records in other languages.
Oh,
So,
yes.
is there any progress on that front as far as AI being able to read records from Germany?
You know,
Um,
it seems
yes, Scott?
it seems to be getting better and better, Bill. You know, even a year ago, it was kind of hit and miss, but they keep making improvements. And I've been kind of experimenting the last year or so with three or four of the different, Chat GBT, and there's several other ones, and I've been kind of experimenting with them specifically for transcribing and translating. And ChatGPT seems to be doing pretty good with it, getting better and better. And also, I think there's one or two others that are getting pretty good at it. The problem is that it's like everything else. I don't know. It was President Reagan, I think, who said, "Trust but verify." So you 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 really have to, after what I've done is I've actually used the programs, put the records in there, had them translated by a couple of the different ones, and compared their translation,
Uh,
and sometimes even compared it with Google Translate, and kind of seeing what's the middle ground of the translation. And sometimes I'm noticing names are a problem. So especially if they're difficult to spell or unusual spellings, so you really have to kind of go through the German record or any nationality record and kind of compare it to what the AI programs have come up with. So.
yeah.
Scott, on a related note, have you heard of anything about Transcribus and how good that is? Or
I've heard that's pretty good. I haven't used it personally,
okay,
but I've heard from other people that that's really a worthwhile program.
it
So
is. Okay. I know because I that's one thing that of course I'm running into German records myself, so with personal research.
and
Okay.
that might be an interesting topic for you to explore sometime this year.
Yeah.
AI in general, but also AI used for transcribing. And it can be U.S. records. AI can
Oh
be
yeah.
used to extrapolate information out of a census record. It can be used for a will. It can be, anything like that. It can be very useful.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
No, I'm not that
oh,
worried. Thanks, though.
yeah, let's see. Um, Daphne's got, Daphne's comment, I need charting help. Recently, Evernote's pricing increased from $3 a month to 15. Oh my goodness. So I am moving all my research logs to a spreadsheet format on Libre Open Office. I used Colleen Green's research log template. I'm trying to figure out how to access it when traveling. Any suggestions? Spreadsheet format. Um, Libre Open Office. I've used Open Office before. I know for I've volunteered with an organization doing it's Saving Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Online. We've got about 1,500 people worldwide working on documents. We've used Google, the Google sheet for spreadsheets, and we've been able to have, well, not necessarily all 1,500 of us in there at one time because of, you know, time zones, but we've all been able to be working on it, and that's something we found accessible. And it's pretty, if you're familiar with working in Excel and working with spreadsheets, that's a format. And they do have templates. That would be one I'd recommend, Daphne. Um, if that's helpful. And then the good thing is that's a free resource with you know, you'd end up with Google Drive for saving documents as well. So, oh, it botched your formats. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, that can be a pain.
I know also, Kate, Microsoft has, and again, I'm not having a lot of luck with this, but they do have limited uh, Excel, um, for free. So,
Yeah, and maybe that would be the thing is even if you can take it to your local library and get it formatted and use their copy of Office and get it formatted correctly. Um, that might be something to do. And then you can transfer, save it as uh, comma delineated, that kind of thing. There's ways to do it. But I understand. Oh, MS OneDrive. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Oh, and there's a request in the chat if Scott would be interested in doing your program.
oh, I'm not as smart as you, Kate and Bonnie.
And Bonnie. Oh,
You are. You sure you come up with so much good stuff.
yeah.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Um, Kate, if I may interject. I think Scott is a fountain of knowledge. He'd be
Yes.
a great one for maybe a Q&A session with his depth of knowledge, knowing this and that. Very impressive genealogist for sure. But
Yeah.
Kate, my suggestion, if it would be possible, would uh, DNA business. I'm a member of Ancestry, and their DNA hints are sometimes a little maybe complicated is not the word, but a little confusing on how to navigate that uh, that type of service that you're paying for through Ancestry or Roots Tech or wherever. So maybe something on preliminary DNA hints or something of that nature may be beneficial. It would be to me, but maybe others as well. Just a thought on that.
Yes. I that's one that's on my list of I'm looking for a good speaker for the DNA topic just because I know some questions could arise that are beyond my level of, I've done a few of the different tests just trying to see what's out there, and I've been taking some classes, some webinars on it, but I definitely would want somebody that could speak to, some of the sticking points that can come up with it, some of the heavier questions that could come up with it, with the results. that are outside of my area to deal with.
Very good. Thank you.
So, but yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. That's definitely one to look at for this year.
Kate.
Yes. Hi, Tish.
Hi. So Jean and I found a association, I think I've told you, an association of descendants from a shared great grandparent. And so in Montreal, we'd gone up for the walking tour of Montreal. And so we followed in the footsteps in the places and saw, historic stuff related specifically to our family. Um, the little town that our Louis came from in a tiny little place in France is the town is celebrating 9 of its sons, of course, not daughters, sons who moved to other countries back in the 1600s. And so they've invited people from the Association of Tétros to go. So Jean and I are going to France in April, and we're arriving at La Rochelle, which is where a lot of the filles à marier and the filles de roi departed from. Also World War II sites from the U-boats, but then we're going, it's the person that's leading the tour is actually related to the same guy. And she's a professional genealogist, and she's been there like 4 times a year. She goes every year. And so she's got the documents and the people and everything all lined up. So it's an expensive trip for us, but not an expensive trip as genealogy trips go. And nobody had to do the research because she already did. So we're going for 12 days and visiting the baptismal fount and the church where our shared ancestor was baptized, and retracing some of the steps. The tour will be 3 different families that came from that same village. And then the ceremonies in Tessinière will be celebrating 9 of the people that left. So it'll be interesting. And little Dennis told us about ChatGPT, and I've just got to figure out how to use it as an oral translator. He said you can literally set your cell phone down and it will translate in spoken word into text, or
Okay,
it
so
can
1 to 10
translate oral
Bonnell
word
Drive.
into your ears. So I don't know how all that works, but I need to know fast, because we got like 90 days to be ready to go.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
wow.
that.
Mhm.
And besides that,
It's
I'm looking
visit
to fix the discrepancies in the record. For example, one census record shows my Aunt Carol was born in New Jersey, and one shows that she was born in New York. And
Oh,
and so like I checked with their daughter, but as people are passing on, I need to get that information before there's less people to know that information.
yeah.
Tish, what
Another,
can I just interrupt
yeah,
you and ask you what year was they born?
which who?
The person you're looking for in New York and New Jersey?
1935.
Okay. A lot of those records have been open now, both in New York and New Jersey. You might want to go on Internet Archives and look under New Jersey birth records, New York birth records. I'm just not sure how, yeah, I can't remember what the cutoff date is, but 1935, you might be able to find those, and you'd be able to get a specific date and town or city wherever they
I
were
have the
born.
date. I have the dates, and both
Mhm.
of her daughters are still alive. So,
Okay,
but she only recently died, so I'm not treading too heavy on could I see her birth certificate yet, but I will.
right,
But
right,
just so I offered to that I'd like to go to New Hampshire when she sorts through the photos,
okay.
because you'd probably be doing that pretty much alone. And so it would be nice to catch up on that, but I will definitely look into that if I come
Yeah,
upon a brick wall there.
yeah. And
So yeah,
you can also access it just by going to Google and reclaim the records, New York births, reclaim the records, New Jersey birth, and it pops right up. And then it gives
Really?
you a breakdown by years. And then you'd be able to, you'd be able to find out exactly whether it was New York or New Jersey.
Sure. That's cool. Yeah, so thanks. So yeah, there's just discrepancies like it has my grandmother and grandfather who were solidly in New England getting married after they had 6 kids in Wyoming, and they've seems to have confused the marriage record with the divorce record, and I'm not totally convinced that it's even their record. It's just a little, it looks like the old card catalogs. It's just a little typed in with a little stamp on it. So there's not other identifying information. And because they came from the Catholic um, tradition, most of the names, their names are like Joseph. A little way too common among the French Canadian Catholics. So I've just got just a few discrepancies that I want to clear up, but I do have one aunt that's still together, and an uncle that's not so together, but his wife is a little more together. So I do have two that I can get at that. So that's one thing we're looking at. For other topics, I'm interested in the Patriot revolt in Montreal of 1837 and 38. I saw one article in the Association of Tetrarchs newsletter, and it listed, so 300 people were excommunicated from New France because of their participation in their revolt, and they were sent by ship in 1838 to Australia, maybe 39, but they were sent to Australia, which I find kind of a little bit funny that they had to go that far away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on a
Yes.
ship. And then of the 12 leaders of that revolt, I Googled each one of them, or I searched for them in the Canadian biography, and it looks like 4 of them are related directly to me for sure, and some of them also to Jean. But then 5 more of them were married to direct descendants. So, I mean, ancestors. So 9 of the 12 that were hung at the Montreal jail have a place on my tree. So I've been really interested in that. We've gone and visited the site and seen the obelisk in front of the old jail and the names. So we're interested in Quebec and Acadia. And Acadia especially is very difficult because so many records were lost.
Okay.
But I'm interested in finding out how I know where those ancestors, no, which ancestors to look for to find those. And then I'm also interested in the Deerfield raids.
Deerfield raids. Okay.
Hmm.
Got it.
We had a couple relatives involved, captured in that, or married. Those captured married into the family. So interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the family name in Quebec?
Tetralt,
Okay.
TET. So they spell it like a billion different ways. So one they say Tataralt, Tatara, but
Okay.
the original ancestors Louis Tetreau, Tetreau, which is different from mine. But all of the Tetralts in North America descend from this one guy, and Tetralt is not a name you find in France. So it's kind of interesting, though. One guy comes here and there's 75,000 people descended from him, and no one left in France that descends from him, apparently. And because they were Catholics, they kept pretty, and they came from Filles du Roi and the soldiers and all. It's carefully documented in the Quebec history stuff. So pretty easy to find those. Anyway, that's my story.
Trish, I just want to tell you while you were talking, I just looked online real quick under Reclaim the Records,
Uh-huh.
and they do have birth records that would cover 1935
Wow.
for New York, but they do not have records for New Jersey. It only goes up to 1929.
We'll have to wait a couple years, huh?
Yep.
They're always behind us. Thank you. Go ahead and mute.
So does someone else want to share their goals for 2025 or any topics they'd like to see covered?
I'll share my goals.
Sure.
My first one is my mother passed away in February. She was a genealogist and she was a Mac person. I'm PC. So she had over 100 binders of material that she had printed out because she just entered her information in Roots Magic on her Mac and didn't back it up on anything else. So I'm taking the binders and entering the information on Ancestry and Family Tree Maker and uploading it to Dropbox too, because I'm all about having it in different places. She was great about sourcing, so I haven't had to do a lot of that, but I'm making sure that everything's sourced. And I'm also adding to it because she was 100 when she passed away. So there's a lot more material that's come out. So I'm finding, although she was great, I mean, she was amazing for finding things for the time that she was researching in, but I'm also adding to it. So
Wow.
I'm trying to get down in my number of binders that I still have in my home because they take over like 4 bookcases. So there's that. And then for my own personal research, I'm researching a woman named Chrissy Brown, who was a Black domestic servant for the family of one of the founders of Rochester. I got interested in her because I work at Genesee Country Village, and she was a domestic servant in one of the houses there. I think she was probably born enslaved. She was born around between 1800, 1803. And the first record I can find of her is in 1849 in Rochester when she was a domestic servant for William Fitzhugh's daughter, Rebecca. So she would have worked in the house that I work in now. And I pretty much have found what she's done until her death in the 1870s. But I'd love to find out if originally she was enslaved. We know the Fitzhughs brought slaves up to the Geneseo area. That was where they originally lived. They also sold off a lot of slaves to get the money to buy the land in Rochester. So that's my goal this year. I might have to go down to Maryland to find out because I had a call with a wonderful woman at Family Search maybe a year or so ago who you can call and they'll advise you on if there's any, additional research that you might do. And so I told her what I had done, and she said she thought that I pretty much exhausted anything that I could do online. So I might have to make a trip down there. So that's kind of the goal. I'd love to find out where Chrissy originally came from and what the circumstances were of her birth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Neat.
Kate, what are you working on?
Well, I'm going to be working on doing some more family story writing, working on that family blog, and hopefully going to be working on an oral history project for here for the library, which is one of the reasons that we're not having a January local history program. I'm trying to get some things off the ground here, but it's gonna be a little bit of doing to get it underway. So
And what's the oral history project involving?
part of it is trying to connect the generations. It's kind of it's kind of a take on a program that I had proposed during library school that was geared towards pairing up teens and the older generations to find commonalities. But like, kind of like a pen pal idea, but without letter writing, just like connecting and learning similarities and differences and how we're, but also learning impressions of Syracuse
Mm.
through the lens of both sets of eyes. It's like, oh yeah, it's like this is the way it was when I was your age, and this is what you can expect, and that kind of thing. It's still very much in the planning stages right now. I just and then I'm also working on the memory cafe that we're doing, which is another side project we've got going with three of the other libraries in the city. And I help out with it every other month. So, um, and my portion for January is we're going to be talking about the blizzard of 66, which 1966, which was up until the blizzard of 93 was the blizzard of the century. It took several days for everybody to dig out from it. So
That was before you were born.
yeah, it was, but there's plenty of pictures and plenty of memories to go around of it. So we're having fun with it. Yeah. So does anybody else have anything to share or any ideas about topics they want to see, or let's see. Let's see. Oh, Peggy, I hope to get more photo scanning done, get some family history written. Yes. And come up with some kind of easy portable family history display for our family reunion in Pulaski area in August. Any ideas? Oh, well, I do have the Roots and Branches video should be up, and that has a few different ideas in it. Um, so that's going to happen in August. I can work on getting some ideas out to you, Peggy. But there's a few different projects for that are in the Roots and Branches video, and but I can come up with a few more ideas probably. And easily portable. Oh, because you're in North Carolina. Got it. Okay, I see. North Carolina traveling to Pulaski. So nothing too bulky or heavy, especially on the heavy part. Yeah, got it. Well, does anybody else have anything to share? Um, I'll share my last slide if I may. There we go. All right. So this is our last slide. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again in 2025. The first two OCPL Genealogy Group session programs are up on that calendar. And again, these slides are going to be sent out today by 4:30 p.m. Eastern from the email you see, which is lhg@onlib.org. So keep an eye on your email for those to be sent out. And I'm wishing you all smooth sailing and hope you can join us again in 2025. And this video link will be up by 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
Thank you, Kate. Happy New Year to all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year, Kate, everybody.
Happy New Year, Scott.
You too.
And Miss Bonnie, Happy New Year to you.
And to you too.
Happy New Year, Peggy. Happy New Year, Daphne. Happy New Year, Helen. And Happy New Year, Mark.